on Trib Force assignment at Petra as new director of the co-op. Cameron Buck Williams, mid-30s, former senior writer for Global Weekly, former publisher of Global Community Weekly for Carpathia, original member of the Trib Force, editor of cyber magazine The Truth, last seen defending the Old City in Jerusalem. Chang Wong, 21, former Trib Force mole at Global Community Headquarters, New Babylon, on Trib Force assignment at Petra as head of computer facility. Ming Toi Wu, mid-20s, Chang Wong's sister, former widow, remarried, former guard at the Belgium Facility for Female Rehabilitation, Buffer, AWOL, on Trib Force assignment at Petra, assisting with co-op. Ri Wu, mid-20s, husband to Ming Toi Wu, a principal pilot on Trib Force assignment at Petra. Gustav Zuckermandel, Jr., a.k.a. Zeke, a.k.a. Z, late 20s, document and appearance forger, lost father to guillotine, on Trib Force assignment at Petra. The recently martyred. Al B., a.k.a. Albie, early 50s, native of Al Basra, north of Kuwait, pilot, former international black marketer, member of Trib Force, murdered in Al Basra. Zion Ben Judah, early 50s, former rabbinical scholar and Israeli statesman, revealed belief in Jesus as Messiah on international TV. Wife and 2 teenagers subsequently murdered. Escaped to U.S. Former spiritual leader and teacher of Trib Force. Had cyber audience of more than 1 billion daily. Taught the Jewish remnant at Petra. Slain defending the Old City in Jerusalem. Chloe Steele Williams, mid-20s, former student, Stanford University, lost mother and brother in the rapture, daughter of Rayford, wife of Buck, mother of 4.5-year-old Kenny Bruce, original Trib Force member, former CEO of the co-op, guillotined by the GC at the former Stateville Penitentiary in Joliet, Illinois. The enemies. Suhail Akbar, mid-40s, Carpathia's Chief of Security and Intelligence, One World Unity Army Command Post, Megiddo. Nicolae Jetty Carpathia, late 30s, former President of Romania, former Secretary-General, United Nations, self-appointed Global Community Potentate, assassinated in Jerusalem, resurrected at GC Palace Complex, New Babylon, leading massive Unity Army forces in the Valley of Megiddo, last seen outside Herod's Gate on the Suleiman Road in Jerusalem. Leon Fortunato, late 50s, former Supreme Commander and Carpathia's right hand, now Most High Reverend Father of Carpathianism, proclaiming the potentate as the risen God, Unity Army Command Post, Megiddo. Viv Ivans, early 70s, lifelong friend of Carpathia, GC operative, Unity Army Command Post, Megiddo. Prologue from Armageddon. Rayford started down the backside of Petra, finding it even more harrowing than coming up. He had stayed with Chang and Naomi a little longer than he had planned, so he assumed Mac would be looking for him and that George thought he had already arrived. From his vantage point, he had a good view of the army a mile off. He was reaching for his phone to reassure Mac when it became clear something had happened. The front lines were recoiling again, so George must have initiated another burst of the directed energy weapons. This time, however, despite the ensuing chaos, the Unity Army didn't take it sitting down. Rayford heard the booms of retaliatory fire like thunder from a storm head 100 miles wide. He knew enough about munitions to know that Carpathia's forces were a little far away to be using the mortar cannons and shooting at high angles. He guessed the shells would drop short of the Petra perimeter. He was wrong. Maybe their cannons were bigger than the typical unrifled short barrels. The shells flew past the perimeter and began dropping all around him. When one exploded right in front of him, Rayford was nearly pitched off the ATV. Grabbing for the handlebar with his free hand, he saw his phone go flying, bouncing 100 yards down the rocky steep. And now his vehicle was out of control. He bounced high off the seat and realized he was soaring through the air with only his hands attached to the ATV. He came down hard, and the contraption bounced and rolled sideways. To hang on or not was the only thing on his mind, and quickly that option was gone, too. The four-wheeler hit yet again, ripping his grip away. As he bounced and rolled, he kept picking up the sight of the vehicle disintegrating as it smashed into rocks all the way into a valley. Rayford reminded himself not to try to break his own fall. He tucked hands and arms in and tried to relax, fighting his natural instinct for all he was worth. The grade was too steep and his speed too fast to control himself. The best he could wish for was a soft landing place. A shell deafened him from about 10 feet to his right, knocking him into a sideways roll. Rayford felt his temple smash into a sharp rock and was aware of what sounded like rushing water as he rolled toward thorny overgrowth. Scary as the thorns looked, they had to be softer than what he had been hitting. Rayford was able to shift his body weight as he slowed and backed into the thorns. It was then he realized what the liquid sound was. With each beat of his heart, galloping now, his life's blood spurted 6 feet from the wound in his temple. He pressed his palm hard against his head and felt the gush against his hand. He pressed with all his might and felt he might be containing it somewhat, but Rayford was in danger now, mortal danger. No one knew exactly where he was. He was without communications or transportation. He didn't even want to inventory his injuries, because regardless, they were minor compared to the hole in his head. He had to get help, and fast, or he would be dead in minutes. Rayford's arms were gashed, and he felt sharp pains in both knees and one ankle. He reached with his free hand to pull up his pant leg and wished he hadn't. Not only had something sliced the flesh from his ankle, but something had taken part of the bone, too. Could he walk? Dare he try? He was too far from anywhere to crawl. He waited for his pulse to abate and for his equilibrium to return. He had to be a mile from Mac and his people, and he couldn't see them. There was no going back up. He rolled up onto his feet, squatting, one hand desperately trying to keep himself from bleeding to death. Rayford tried to stand. Only one leg worked, and it was the one with the nearly totaled ankle. He may have broken a shin bone in the other. He tried to hop, but the incline was so great he found himself pitching forward again, and now he was out of control one more time, trying to hop to keep from falling, but picking up speed with every bounce. Whatever he did, he could not take his hand from his temple, and he dare not land on one more hard thing. Lord, now would be a most appropriate time for you to come. Chang sensed something was about to give. He had succeeded in intercepting signals from geosynchronous satellites that supported communications among the millions of troops that were about to move, and his key people needed to know. He called George. "Expect an advance within 60 seconds, he said. "We've already been shelled," George yelled. "You mean more than that?" "Yes, they will be coming." "Rayford see you?" "Left a little while ago. On his way to see Mac." "Thanks. Call Mac, would you? I'll inform the others." Chang called and told Mac the same. "Hey," Mac said. "I can't raise Sebastian, and Ray is overdue." "On his way," Chang said. He called Buck. "Expect ad—" But he was cut off. He redialed. Nothing. "They're coming! They're coming!" Buck heard a young rebel shrieking just as his phone chirped, and he saw an incendiary device hurled over the Rockefeller Museum right at his position. He saw Unity Army troop movement from every side, and he grabbed his phone and held it up to his ear just as the bomb hit the wall right in front of him and clattered to the ground outside. He recognized Chang's voice just before the bomb blew a hole in the